In a desolate post-apocalyptic Chicago, the surviving population is split into 5 factions, each representing a particular disposition. Abnegation, for those who are selfless and work as volunteers or aid workers. Amity, for the peaceful individuals who serve as farmers. Candor, for those who value honesty, including lawyers and judges. Dauntless, for the courageous soldiers and police. And erudite, for intellectuals and scientists. Those who do not belong to any faction are called the factionless. At the age of 16, every child must undergo a psychological aptitude test induced by a special serum which reveals the faction they are best suited for. However, during the choosing ceremony, they are allowed to choose any faction they desire as their permanent one, regardless of the test results. Beatrice Pryor, a 16-year-old girl, was born and raised in Abnegation, the faction responsible for running the government. Her father, Andrew Pryor, is a member of the ruling council and works closely with Marcus Eaton, the leader of Abnegation. However, during her aptitude test, Beatrice's results reveal that she possesses traits suited for 3 factions: Abnegation, Erudite, and Dauntless, marking her as Divergent. Tori Wu, the Dauntless proctor administering her test, falsifies the results to show abnegation and warns Beatrice to keep her true results a secret. Tori explains that divergents are seen as a threat because their independent thinking makes them immune to the effects of government-controlled serums. The following day, at the choosing ceremony, Beatrice's brother, Caleb, shocks their family by selecting Erudite as his faction. When it is Beatrice's turn, after a moment of hesitation, she chooses Dauntless, leaving her family behind. During their first test, which requires jumping from a tall building into a dark pit, Beatrice volunteers to go first, landing safely on a hidden net. When the instructor for the transfer initiates, named 4, asks for her name, she decides to go by Triss, shedding her former identity. 4 explains that unlike most other factions, which allow all initiates who pass training to join, only the top 21 Dauntless initiates will be accepted into the faction. Those who rank below this number will be expelled and become factionless. Later, she befriends 3 other initiates who are faction transfers: Christina and Al, both from Candor, and Will, who comes from Erudite. Eric Coulter, a ruthless and strict Dauntless leader, informs the initiates that those who fail to meet the faction's high expectations of courage and loyalty will be expelled and forced to become factionless. The training is divided into 3 distinct stages. The first stage focuses on teaching initiates how to use firearms and knives, as well as engaging in hand-to-hand combat with other recruits. Triss initially struggles during the physical training in Dauntless and ranks far below the cutoff line after the first evaluation. However, with the help of 4, she gradually begins to improve her skills. During a match arranged by Eric, Triss is pitted against Peter Hayes, a transfer from Candor, who becomes her nemesis. The fight ends with Triss being defeated and sent to the infirmary to recover. Despite being injured, Triss refuses to miss the pivotal Capture the Flag challenge. She sneaks out of the infirmary to join her team, where her strategic thinking secures their victory, earning her a spot above the cutoff line. In the second stage of training, the recruits face simulations designed to force them to confront their deepest fears. 4 explains that the tests take place inside their minds, and their performance in overcoming these fears determines whether they advance to the final round. Triss handles the simulations in creative and unusual ways, but 4 warns her that such actions could expose her as divergent. He advises her to resolve the final test as a typical Dauntless would. Triss visits her brother Caleb, who tells her that the Erudite faction is planning to overthrow Abnegation. When Triss returns to Dauntless, Peter, Al, and Drew ambush and attack her, but she is saved by 4. The next day, Al apologizes and begs for her forgiveness, but Triss angrily calls him a coward and refuses to forgive him. Unable to cope with the shame, Al commits suicide by jumping into the pit. To prepare her for the final test, 4 takes Triss into his own fear simulations, where she learns about his troubled past. She discovers that his real name is Tobias Eaton, and that his father, Marcus, had abused him as a child. Triss also finds out that 4 has only 4 fears in his simulation landscape, the fewest on record, which is how he got his nickname. 4 then shares with Triss information he has uncovered about the Erudite's plan to use Dauntless to attack Abnegation. The next day, Triss takes the final test and follows 4's advice, completing it in a way that mimics a typical Dauntless recruit. She passes the test and is officially accepted as a member of Dauntless. Following this, all Dauntless members are injected with a serum that is said to help track them in emergencies, but it is secretly designed to control their minds. The following morning, the Dauntless faction, under the serum's influence, is ordered to execute the leaders of abnegation on behalf of Erudite. Because the serum does not affect Divergence, Triss must pretend to be under its control to avoid detection. She finds Four, who reveals that he is also Divergent. As the Dauntless begin their assault on abnegation, Triss and Four separate from the group to find her family. However, Eric realizes Four is not controlled and captures both of them. Four is taken into custody, and Triss is sentenced to execution. But her mother, Natalie, who turns out to be a former Dauntless member, rescues her. Tragically, Natalie is killed while helping Triss escape. Triss reunites with her father, Caleb, Marcus, and a group of abnegation survivors. Together, they infiltrate the Dauntless headquarters. Triss forces Peter to lead them to Erudite's control center, but her father sacrifices himself during a shootout to allow her to proceed. Inside the control center, Triss finds Four, now under the influence of a stronger serum designed to control Divergence. When Four attacks her, Triss cannot bring herself to harm him and instead chooses to surrender. Her act of compassion helps Four break free from the simulation. Together, they enter the control room, where they confront Janine Matthews, the leader of Erudite. Using the mind control serum against Janine, Triss forces her to shut down the program, stopping the massacre. Afterward, Triss, Four, Caleb, Marcus, and Peter regroup and board a train bound for the Amity sector, where they hope to find safety with the remaining abnegation survivors. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please follow or subscribe, and don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your support means everything and helps me create more great content.